Okay, good afternoon. I'm Earl Taylor, Chief Marketing Officer of the Marketing Science Institute. As many of you know, since 1961, nonprofit MSI has been the bridge between marketing theory and business practice. We fund research by leading academics worldwide on topics voted by our 70-plus corporate sponsors and disseminate results through members-only events in a variety of publications. I'm very pleased to welcome you to another MSI For Members by Members webinar. This is a series of webinars on subjects related to MSI's current research priority topics. First, I'd like to point out the Chat with Presenter function in the left-hand corner of your screen. Please use this feature to send through any questions you have for Conor during the presentation. We will gather the questions and have a brief Q&A session following the presentation. Also, Conor's slides, as well as the entire webinar, will be available for download on the MSI member website. Now, I'd like to introduce you to today's featured speaker. Conor McGovern of Accenture Digital has kindly agreed to present today's webinar on Marketing Analytics, Advanced, Pervasive, and Visible. Conor is Managing Director of Accenture Digital, where he leads the marketing analytics capability globally. He has a passion for helping clients to drive marketing strategy, be more commercially accountable, and improve decision-making through analytics. He holds multiple patents and is a regular public commentator on digital and marketing analytics. Conor has a BS and MS in Electrical and Information Engineering from Cambridge University and is a trustee of the Marketing Science Institute. So, Conor?
Thank you very much, Earl, and thanks for the introduction, and welcome, everyone. It's an absolute pleasure to be speaking with you today. So Earl's already done a little bit of an introduction. Let me just go a touch deeper on that before we get into the meat of today's webinar. So, as Earl says, I'm Managing Director in Accenture Digital, where I lead the marketing analytics capability globally. I've been at Accenture for around 8 years, and as Earl says, from an academic perspective, I'm an engineer specializing in information sciences, and I obtained my degrees at Cambridge University. Although I have to say that it feels more than half a lifetime away, and it is actually half a lifetime away. I've always worked in consulting and business development within digital businesses, and have specialized in marketing analytics for about the last 12 years. I'm based in London. I'm a Brit, although I'm originally from Northern Ireland, but have the great honor of leading a global team of absolutely fantastic marketing analytics professionals around the world. I'm also extremely active on Twitter and LinkedIn, and I'd be very happy to connect with you and continue today's discussion on Twitter after the presentation. So feel free to connect or follow me there. And the topic I want to cover today is how to make marketing analytics advanced and pervasive within the organization, but appropriately invisible. I'll explain exactly what we mean as we step through. So I'll cover some practical examples of how to close the execution gap that many organizations experience in moving from data to analytics into insights and then actually into real action and outcomes from those analytics. And I'll discuss the use of role-based advanced analytics applications to deliver those insights for consumption by marketers and others to make smarter decisions as part of their daily workflow. I'll also cover the embedding of advanced analytics, such as machine learning, to deliver automated real-time optimization of customer response within digital channels. So the agenda for today is to talk briefly about just how much digital is changing the world and explain how Accenture Digital helps clients address those opportunities and challenges. Then we'll talk about closing this execution gap that many of our clients experience and how some high performers are embedding analytics within their real-time channels. I'll also cover a number of necessarily anonymous client success stories in each of these spaces. So digital really is changing all aspects of our lives, and the pace of that change continues to increase. And we at Accenture Digital believe that digital technology will change the world significantly in the near to medium future, and that this change is going to have a disruptive impact on everyone's business models. So becoming a digital business isn't just about digitized marketing, digitized operations. We think it's going to be absolutely essential for survival. So we created Accenture Digital to bring together our strengths in digital marketing, in mobility, in analytics, to help our clients accelerate their digital journeys. And the pace of change in digital is evidenced by our own growth story within Accenture Digital. So we've had a dedicated marketing sciences practice at Accenture for around about 15 years. And when I joined 8 years ago, I joined a team of probably only a couple of hundred folks focused on customer and marketing analytics. Accenture Digital has grown organically and inorganically to around about 28,000 people today, serving clients from 49, I think it is, different countries around the world. So digital's massive and changing all aspects of our lives. It's also growing exponentially. Every time we put together some numbers on around digital, they become out of date almost immediately. But here, this is just a snapshot of 1 minute. 1 minute of data from the 2.4 billion people connected to the internet. So 38,000 photos shared on Instagram, over 4 million searches on Google, around 1/3 tweets, 100 hours per minute of video uploaded onto YouTube, over 3 million likes on Facebook, over 250,000 Snapchats received, etc. And as I say, that pace is just continuing to grow. If we even consider some of the things that aren't on this, so Facebook, 4 billion daily views now of videos on Facebook, 75% of which are on mobile devices. So this offers a huge potential, but also significant challenges and threats to marketers and organizations. And the data deluge that we and our clients are facing is accelerating as well, particularly driven by the increase in the Internet of Things and just what a complex ecosystem that represents. And again, here's just a snapshot and some predictions around the number of devices. So by 2020, we expect it to be 25 billion connected devices. And when you consider the average number of sensors per device, running at around 10, just the amount of data flowing from those devices is simply staggering. Another one worth calling out here is just the volume of data. So the volume of mobile data predicted by 2018 is 15.9 exabytes per month. And for those that don't know, an exabyte is 1 billion gigabytes, or 1,000 petabytes. So the Internet of Things is, again, a massive opportunity for marketing because of the data and the opportunity that it presents around new channels and new customer touch points for marketers. But as I'm sure you can appreciate, it's opportunities and threats in equal measure from the explosion of data and explosion of connected devices over the next few years. So addressing these challenges and opportunities with clients is why Accenture Digital exists. We've always had data and analytics absolutely at the core of what we do. And in a relatively short space of time, Accenture Digital has grown to become around a $5 billion business and one of the world's largest digital transformation consultancies in terms of revenue. What's more important, though, is that we've helped our clients capture over $100 billion in commerce and sales worldwide, from hotel reservations booked, to consumer electronics purchased, to business transactions completed. And we're now operating in around 49 countries. And as I say, within that, analytics is absolutely at the core of what we do in digital. And customer and marketing analytics are absolutely at the core of what we do in analytics. So we've really grown to become a very significant player in the analytics market. We have developed over 500 analytics assets over the years, and have something around 400 patents and patents pending on our analytical tools and methods. And as I say, I'm really pleased that customer and marketing analytics is absolutely a core component of what we do. Now, to touch on the two main themes for today, the first is around how to embed analytics applications into organizations' operating model to allow day-to-day consumers of data and analytics to make smarter decisions. Now, we acquired a business around about a year ago called I4C. That's an advanced analytics application platform that allows us to really deeply embed and distribute analytics across computing platforms and into our clients' operating models, and I'll show some examples of that very shortly. The second theme is around really embedded analytics in online channels to make smarter, automated, real-time decisions using techniques such as machine learning. And that heavily leverages a lot of our work around big data and big data technology. So we've developed an analytics as a service platform using public cloud and big data technologies, which is able to ingest and process in real time enormous amounts of digital and clickstream and other data, feeding that into machine learning algorithms and returning results in real time with very rapid turnaround times. And again, I'll show an example of that in the airline industry very shortly. But if we turn our attention to marketing and what all of this means for marketing, so we see four really big themes shaping marketing and marketing analytics. The first is the obvious and continued demand for business growth, but more than that, it's an appreciation and a demand and desire within organizations to use analytics to make smarter decisions at every point. The second is the need and indeed the pull from consumers for marketers to be relevant and relevant at scale and far more tailored and targeted in their marketing than they have been previously. Now, this deluge of data that we are experiencing leads to this kind of odd tension and dynamic within organizations. I often see C-level clients look at marketing and think, well, you now have almost perfect data on your consumers. You know, you're sitting on petabytes of data in some cases, and you have perfect 360-degree data on all of your consumers or even your potential consumers. So therefore, you must be accountable for every single micro decision that you make and every single dollar, pound, yen, euro that you invest in marketing. So there are increasing demands for marketing accountability. Now, actually, in my experience, the opposite is true. Many marketers and marketing organizations are drowning in the volumes of data that they have access to. But there's certainly increased demand for marketing effectiveness. And finally is the need to have a modern operating model and a modern organization in order to exploit the opportunity presented by the data and analytics that's possible today. So with that, let me get into the two main themes of the presentation. The first is around closing the execution gap. Now, what do I mean by that? It's really important to have a modern operating model in order to be able to exploit the data and analytics opportunities presented to marketers today. And if we think about this around three main activities, and that's turning data into information, turning information into insights, and turning insights into outcomes. And here I just show a very high-level schematic of a typical marketing analytics operating model. Now, we did a study around about 18 months ago with MIT, and we surveyed well over 1,000 C-level marketers and others around how and where analytics fails within their organization. And the results were really quite startling. So for both high and low performers, the biggest challenges that they face aren't particularly around their collection and processing of data, not even around their ability to analyze that. The issues and points of failure in analytics come when in the insights, decisions, and outcomes, whether you're a high or a low performer. So it's clearly critical then to have a modern operating model that is designed from the ground up to address these challenges and these points of failure around analytics. So many organizations, both high and low performers, face this challenge on a daily basis. How do we actually turn all of the great data and analytics that we do, either internally or using a network of third parties, how do we really turn that into crisp and strategic insight, actual action on the ground, day to day, month to month, quarter to quarter, with all of our key marketing decision makers, and then how do we measure and monitor the performance of those decisions into some positive feedback cycle where we can continuously improve. So there's this huge challenge around operating model, huge challenge around actually making decisions off analytics and driving that through to some successful outcomes. Now, one of the ways that many folks address this is to implement, ever more analytics applications on people's desktops. And what we often see is, the typical issues and pain points are either that the data and analytics result in outcomes which are simply not actionable, or involve some really cumbersome and painful data management, or cumbersome and painful update processes around the data and around the analytics. Obviously, user requirements change, and if you have a ragtag of data and analytics applications, that becomes very difficult to continuously meet and manage users' requirements and expectations. And all of that leads to complexity and cost and ever more demands for more and more sophisticated talent within the organization. So one of the ways that organizations are addressing this is through the use and deployment of very rapidly developed and agile, advanced role-based analytics apps. Let me just explain what that means. So the sorts of critical success factors that organizations have identified around this is really striving for actionable insights from all of the data and analytics and having that deployed in such a way that it becomes part and parcel of the ongoing processes that marketers are managing on a day-to-day basis. It's also important to really decouple model and data and be able to produce the right insights for the right people at the right level of granularity and sophistication through those processes. And obviously, having a low cost of upgrades and maintenance and being able to provide internal analytics as a service with minimal technical and expensive analytics staff is also appealing to many organizations. So let me just give an example of a retail client. So this is a retail client who are already extremely sophisticated from a data and analytics perspective. They have fantastically good data around sales right down to store and item level for both their own products and their competitor products right across the world. So a very sophisticated data management and data processing layer already exists within the organization. They're already very sophisticated in terms of the analytics that they and their broad network of third-party analytics providers delivers for them, particularly around the area of pricing and pricing optimization and understanding the impact of their own and competitor price changes on their performance. But they face a very significant issue in terms of actually executing and making decisions off the back of that existing and very strong data and analytics. So they really are facing this execution gap that I talked about around the operating model. So how best can they turn all of this great data and good analytics, based on really solid, mostly time series type econometrics, into crisp strategic insight, and how can they significantly enhance the decision-making capabilities of the key players around pricing and pricing decisions. Now, they've done that by deploying some very lightweight analytics applications, and they're based around all of the roles that they have within their marketing and trading. And here we're just given an illustrative example of that. So here we have 3 roles. The trading director, now she's responsible for the overall P&L for her categories and segments, and she's accountable for setting the financial goals and market positioning of her categories. So she necessarily needs to see data at a very high level. She does not need to know or understand what's going on under the bonnet and within the analytical engine, but her role is obviously critical in terms of setting a strategy and monitoring the value delivered from the pricing decisions that the team under her are making. Now, the next key role is the buyer. He's responsible for deciding the final prices and dealing with all of their suppliers around the world. Now, he necessarily needs more granular insight, but presented in different ways that are appropriate for him to allow him to scenario plan and optimize at both a very strategic level, but also tactically down at individual products or individual subcategories. And then sitting and supporting underneath them is a data scientist. Now, she's responsible for gathering and processing all of the data, tuning and refining all of the econometric models that her team and external teams build, and extracting elasticities and cross-price elasticities from those models. Now, many of our clients' issues are not solved from requiring them to adopt and use yet another tool. So it's really important that these lightweight analytics apps are delivered at the appropriate level and in a very user-friendly and existing process-oriented way so that they don't become burdensome. Now, in this particular example, the 3 key benefits that are delivered are a significant improvement in the business's overall product strategy. So depending upon the business objective, this provides the buyers the ability to navigate and scenario plan different pricing strategies. So one week it may be about driving volume or revenue, the next it may be about driving profit. So allowing them to really wargame and scenario plan complex scenarios in a very straightforward way. The second benefit then is around pricing optimization, the ability to overlay all of the business rules and constraints that exist, and responding to the competition, so being able to monitor competitive prices and the business's price index against those competitors in order to be continuously testing, learning, improving and optimizing price at both a tactical and a strategic level. So the lightweight app, the lightweight role-based apps are a fantastic means of closing this execution gap within businesses. And thinking more broadly, there are a number of key success factors that are required around the use of these lightweight advanced role-based apps. So the first is obviously it needs to be employed in an area where there's a need for advanced analytics, and of course within marketing there are many of those. The second is it absolutely needs to be aligned with existing business processes, so that it doesn't require an inordinate amount of change or an inordinate amount of pain within the business in order to get it adopted. And as I'm sure you've seen over the last couple of slides, this is much more than just data visualization. Of course, data visualization is important, but this is really embedding advanced analytical insights and capabilities within the organization, so going far beyond just data visualization. Also, where we're deploying these apps, where there is some ongoing recurring activity within the business, there can be very, very significant efficiency gains to be had by the use of these lightweight apps. And then lastly, it's a great way of ensuring outcome measurement, ensuring that you are continuously testing and learning and improving and reacting to changes in the market in a way that's highly measurable and in a way that you can quantify the incremental top and bottom line business impact of the smarter decisions that are being made on a day-to-day basis. So that's the use of lightweight role-based apps to close the execution gap in the operating model. The next example I want to touch on is the use of embedded analytics in the online channel. So I'm going to do this really based around one particular client example. So the challenge here is that obviously companies, as you've seen, are collecting ever more data around their customers and from their sales channels. So I'm going to use that data to deliver a far more personalized and highly targeted set of offers to customers. So our hypothesis here was obviously that big data, of course, can be used to drive individually personalized products, pricing, incentives, creatives, and placements in the online channel. And we set out to develop new techniques that can learn the right product, price, incentive, creative, and promotion from online clickstream and other real-time data. And the challenge here, though, is when we're talking about real-time optimization in the digital channels, is the response times have to be extremely fast. And in this particular example, all of the analytics that I described, the requirement was that they needed to be able to run in real time in less than 3 milliseconds on the client's website. So the particular industry that I'm talking about is low-cost airlines. And the particular product set that was the objective of the work was around their ancillary products. So ancillary products are things like additional baggage allowance, seat upgrades, car rentals, and all the other products that low-cost carriers try and foist upon us whenever we're checking out online. And ancillary products are a large and growing and extremely important proportion of all low-cost airlines' revenues. Runs anywhere between 20 and 40% of their overall revenues, but is often responsible for a far more significant percentage of their overall profits. So the challenge is, can we use big data to place the right product in the right sequence at the right price for every customer? Now, most carriers today actually offer the same price for a given product, actually across all markets. Now, some may be more sophisticated and do some A/B or simple multivariate testing to select the one price that maximizes overall revenue or maximizes overall profit. Now, the advantages of those sorts of approaches are that they are extremely simple, but that's about it. That's about the only advantage. The drawbacks are, of course, that it ignores a huge wealth of available data and the huge diversity between individual customers. So the sorts of factors that may be relevant in terms of driving those differences are, obviously, people are flying all over the world and have different start and destination points. Some people are booking months in advance, some are booking very last minute. Some are buying expensive packages of tickets, others are buying very, very low price tickets. There's lots of other factors, day of week, whether you're booking during the week or weekend, time of day, whether you're traveling alone or in a group. There's many factors that drive this heterogeneity in behavior of individual customers or customer microsegments. Now, the algorithms that were developed here are very much prescriptive rather than predictive, as they estimate the impact of the decisions, real-time decisions on revenue, customer lifetime value, profit, or even in this case, net promoter score and sentiment. So I'll just describe the process very briefly. So we started by running a series of experiments on the historic web data to derive the likely attributes which were going to affect the sales of ancillary products. And the examples of those attributes are things like the time between the flight booking and your departure, the overall fare for your package of flights, where you're flying from and where you're flying to, the number of passengers that are traveling together, the departure weekday, the hour of the day, etc., etc. So there's a whole host of factors that cause variation in the uptake of these ancillary products. So to describe the approach that we took, I'll just use a really simple example. So let's assume we only have two price levels, low and high, and let's assume we only have two product options, which is some standard product and some premium product. And here we just show the illustrative prices for those products. And let's also assume we only have we're only considering two attributes, which is the overall flight fare and the days between booking and departure. Now, obviously, in reality, there are many ancillary products, there are many potential prices for those products, and there are many influencing attributes. But just to keep it simple, we'll just stick to two of each. So if we arbitrarily set a division around 30 days, so if you are traveling either more than or less than 30 days between booking and departure, then we're going to segregate those out. And we could adopt a simple pricing policy where we offer a high price for the left subspace here. That's booking less than 30 days in advance, and offer a low price for the right subset, those booking more than 30 days in advance. And if we do that and run the experiment, we see that we get around about a 7% improvement in revenue by partitioning at 30 days. But of course, we can take that significantly further. So we can extend this extend that simple concept into some recursory binary partitioning on a training data set in order to create a final real-time and predictive model. So in each iteration, we select the feature and the threshold that leads to the largest increase in the average revenue per passenger. And we repeat that splitting process until no profitable split can be found, or when there are not enough samples in the subspace. So that's a very high-level view of the analytics that was applied. There were very significant challenges, obviously, around the response times required. I said it needed to run in less than 3 milliseconds. Also significant challenges in terms of actually operationalizing it and putting it live on the client's website. But I'm pleased to say that it is, and it's driving a sustained somewhere in the region of 10% increase in revenue from their ancillary products. But more importantly, within the organization, it's really, in a very seismic way, shifted the level of interest in real-time big data analytics, in experimentation, and in machine learning, and all of the capabilities required around that within the organization. So we've helped them scale this up into what we call a big experiments platform. So this allows them now to command and control many thousands of individual experiments all around the world within a multivariate testing environment. It allows them to apply machine learning in all of those experiments to really understand at the most granular level individual customer sensitivity. It allows them, it's really step-changed their ability to understand customers, customer segments, customer micro-segments, to give insights into positive and negative reactions to all of the various actions and experiments that are being run. And then all of this rolls up into a combined overarching optimization framework that allows them to pull different levers at different times in order to meet particular key performance indicator targets under, as I'm sure you can imagine, multiple business constraints. So it may be about driving market share, it may be about pushing revenues or driving up profits or volumes or sentiment or net promoter score. There are many factors at play in terms of what optimization looks like for this particular organization. So I do hope this has given you ideas on how to better embed advanced analytics in the organization, and whether that's through the use of advanced, lightweight, rule-based apps aligned to existing business processes to close the execution gap in many businesses' operating models, or in the use of real-time machine learning embedded in digital channels to personalize and optimize individual customer interactions. I'd love to hear your feedback on Twitter, so do feel free to connect and we could continue the discussion. So with that, I think we're passing back to Earl. Very happy to take any questions or comments that folks have.
Yes, thanks very much, Conor. That was great. We do have some questions from the audience. One that happened early on, as you were describing how a lot of analytics functions are set up in organizations. Is it fair to say that one of the things that's holding companies back from doing better, especially the integration, is just the legacy systems that they're stuck with, the different processes that don't interact and connect with each other? I'm sure that's something you've encountered in your experience working with your clients. So your thoughts about how you can begin to address those challenges?
So there are a number of ways that data and analytics is siloed within marketing and within organizations, and that absolutely, yes, can be underlying in legacy data systems. You know, I'm thinking of a retailer that my team is currently working with here in Europe. They are striving to get to a single view of their customer, but you look at the data landscape that they face today, and there are something like 60 different databases and data sources for customer data, the majority of which are not joined up. So they face significant challenges in terms of integrating that data. But that's just data silos. There are also artificial silos within marketing organizations, and I'm afraid digital is often largely responsible for some of these. I'll just give another example from this is again a different retail example. So this is an organization where all of the silos within marketing, from a marketing activity perspective, so be it the brand TV team or the email team or the pay-per-click team or numerous other teams, including promotions and flyers and many other different marketing activities, all analyze their activities in silos without consideration for the interplay and dynamics across all of these activities. They all, in their own different ways, measure and claim a level of incrementality on the business, which then on a quarterly basis is all rolled up to finance to sort out the mess. When you actually look at the overall level of incrementality across all of these silos, it sums up to something like 150% of sales, which clearly can't be the case. So no one gets believed, and they get trapped in, well, let's do what we did last time, plus or minus 3 to 5%, which doesn't take long to become massively suboptimal. So there are these data silos. There's certainly, IT and systems silos, but just as important are these organizational and artificial silos that build up around particular marketing activities and marketing channels. Which again is why having that holistic operating model mindset is critical for breaking those down.
Let me ask you a related question that comes up in some of our roundtable groups that we have here at MSI, some of them dedicated to analytics questions. It's very much what you were just describing about the challenges of overcoming those silos. And you mentioned that marketing analytics is core to what Accenture is doing, and that's the area that you're heading up. Some people are concerned and frankly have raised the alarm that the IT and IS functions in companies will sort of subsume marketing, that rather than marketing leveraging all of these resources and data to do its job better than ever, that they actually maybe fall victim to, you might say, the encroachment of IT and IS. I'm wondering, obviously Accenture feels like marketing has a role to play here and maybe a lead role. Would you say a bit more about that, about what it is about the marketing function in leveraging big data that's going to continue to be relevant? I suspect most of our audience, to one extent or another, are in insights, analytics, or marketing, so this should be of concern to them, and we certainly hear that in our roundtable breakout discussion. So a little bit of your thoughts about marketing's unique role to lead the way and not fall victim to sort of, territorial expansion of IT.
Yeah, look, it's an important question, and it's one that's actually front and center. So every year we do a major piece of research, which is all around CMO, CIO collaboration, and it's definitely worth going and looking up. It's very detailed research around the opportunities and tensions between CMO and CIO. The other one I would throw into the mix as well is the Chief Digital Officer. In many organizations that I work with, large parts of what is marketing actually, so a lot of digital marketing sits within the digital channel and actually outside of marketing's control, which again causes issues around kind of the organizational silos that we touched on. I certainly don't think, I think that the role of marketing, the role of the CMO is only going to become more important over the coming years. I do actually subscribe to Gartner's view that the role of the Chief Digital Officer will disappear by 2020, and they will increasingly morph or become revenue and strategy focused CIOs. I do absolutely subscribe to their views on that. I think that the interplay and relationship between marketing and the CIO and his or her organization is absolutely critical for success. I'm sure many of you will have seen the latest marketing technology Lumascape, so showing all of the various marketing technology vendors across the scores of different areas that they address. And it's grown to be something like 2,000 different technology vendors across the full sweep of marketing. And I don't think that navigating and being successful from a technology perspective is something that CMOs and marketing organizations can do alone. That the relationship and interplay and collaboration between CMO and CIO is going to be absolutely fundamental for success. But I certainly do believe that marketing and specifically the analytics around customer and marketing should live within the marketing organizations, because frankly they know and understand the market, they know and understand the customer better than any other part of the organization. Now, that's not to say that there aren't challenges. That we see huge capability gaps, and huge demand for ever more advanced and sophisticated marketing analytics talent within our client organizations. And there really is today there is already a marked skills and capability gap, a resource gap, and that's only going to grow and accelerate.
Well, I'm sure you'd have some agreement from the audience about the importance of keeping this in the marketing function, so thanks for that. There's a related question that came in from one of the audience. Kathy says, your examples, I think, were by and large around closing the gap on service, delivery, customer interactions, either to make them more efficient or more customized or both, which was appropriate given the examples you shared. But what would be some examples of advanced analytics apps for marketing specifically? How those are being developed, how they're being used, with what outcomes? Would you maybe give us an example of that? You talked about the lightweight rule-based apps, and that seemed to be in part to help understand how to customize, say, delivery of the right product at the right time. Just more generally, the marketing apps, what would be examples of what you're seeing there?
Okay. So, I mean, the sorts of apps that are getting a lot of traction are particularly around areas where we're dealing with large volumes of data and a demand for large-scale analytics. So in the areas of pricing, scenario planning, and optimization. Similarly around promotion, so be it trade promotion in consumer goods or promotions in retail or indeed other industries. Certainly in the area of the tactical decision making around digital and pay-per-click activities, around interactive and cross-channel attribution. Increasingly, pushing down into the supply chain as well, and taking more customer and marketing and causal-based approaches to forecasting. So all of those would be examples of areas where today within organizations we see this execution gap, and where lightweight apps can help address it and help drive up adoption and drive up the sophistication of decision-making part of the analytics without necessarily having to see inside the box.
That's great. You mentioned the cross-channel attribution. That is certainly one of the holy grails that we're all seeking today, is to understand how to really allocate the credit for the eventual outcome, if it's a sale or whatever the dependent variable is. I'm going to combine a couple of questions I think that are related to that. Early on, I think it's Micah raised a question about, given the complexity of some of the diagrams and models you were sharing, how do you begin to calculate ROI on a given activity? And more recently, Carolyn raised the question about how do you, based on what you know and how the organizations are working, what are some of your thoughts about helping to find the right partner, vendor to do marketing mix analysis? They all seem to have largely similar techniques. Your thoughts about the whole issue around accountability, attribution, when it comes to looking at marketing ROI?
That's a big question. So marketing return on investment based around marketing mix modeling is becoming kind of all-pervasive and increasingly commoditized. And it's increasingly easy to do given the availability of data and given the sophistication of the top-down strategic analytical methods and tools that are available from a high-level marketing mix perspective. So I certainly don't think that's going away, nor should it, because it's the best means of giving us at least an aggregate and high-level view of the big, broad dynamics and the big, broad impacts and influences of all aspects of our media marketing and digital activity. So I think that's critical. Now, that's, if you like, the top-down view. There is a real burning need to have that integrated with the bottom-up view. And what do I mean by bottom-up? I mean by the exploitation of cookie or individual or household level data, and what we can do with that from an interactive or digital attribution perspective. Now, all of the attribution platforms on the market today are all absolutely designed or the best ones are all designed to actually run in tandem with the top-down marketing mix view. Because if you think about just how much of the business a typical interactive attribution solution addresses, it's very small. Unless you're a pure-play e-commerce business that only advertises online, then if you're a retailer where 10% of your sales might be online and maybe 30% of your marketing might be online, you're addressing by just going nuclear on the digital attribution, you're only addressing a small but growing fraction of the business. So there is a real need to have that integrated top-down and bottom-up view, and that is the holy grail. Now, in terms of vendor selection, anyone can go and look up the latest Forrester Wave on interactive or cross-channel attribution, and you can see who the leaders in the space are. But what I think is particularly important is the degree to which they can integrate with that top-down, more strategic, multi-channel, multi-traditional and digital marketing activity that you get, or view that you get from marketing mix modeling. And I think the winners and the most successful organization and platform vendors in that space will be the ones that have that integrated, joined up, top-down and bottom-up solution. Because frankly, not having that, you just run the risk of falling right back into that siloed approach and siloed mentality that I touched on earlier.
Great, thanks for that. Let me ask you a question. It's a bit more speculative, perhaps, but we hear this again in our roundtable discussions sometimes, and that is the proper role of machine learning, automation. At what point a lot of work that has historically been associated with market research, market insights, has been just assembling the data and finding basic patterns and beginning to interpret those. And as you alluded to, a lot of that can be done now through machine learning algorithms and automated. So what is the proper role of the analyst in that kind of an environment? Where does the intuition or the critical manager's input or decision come into play? Because let me give you a quick example or frame it a little differently. A lot of the processes you were describing probably can and should be automated for all the reasons you said, and that would help close that performance gap, become more efficient, more customized, and so forth. But that is sort of doing what we now do better and better, not necessarily finding new things that we might not have thought about. So there's the whole issue about big data analytics for discovery as opposed to like optimization of an existing process. So just your thoughts more generally about where the role of the manager, the research insights person fits into this world of automated machine learning and data analysis.
Yeah, absolutely. So, it sounds slightly trite, but when I say that machine learning algorithms are still created by people, right, not by machines. So there's still a critical role for people and analysts in terms of developing and refining and tuning and improving the machine learning algorithms. But I think what's more important, and I think what's more exciting, is the opportunity presented by big data when it comes to true analytically powered discovery and innovation. So if you think about kind of traditional marketing analytics, it's very much like sort of traditional BI within organizations, right? This is killing ourselves to cleanse perfect time series data into some sort of analytical data set that we can apply some well understood time series, econometric, or some other well understood approach to in order to produce some well understood outputs and maybe feed some predictive tool. So that's kind of the sort of traditional BI workflow. Now, with the deluge of data that we're experiencing in customer and marketing, that opens up enormous amounts of potential in order to around the whole area of big data discovery. So genuinely getting to new insights and genuinely getting to new value and new points of differentiation for businesses. And that requires an entirely different approach, entirely different mindset, an entirely different set of analytical skills and capabilities in order to get to that. So I think that's one of the most exciting areas of marketing analytics is around the genuine innovation that's possible through big data discovery. And that's not something that can be done by a bank of servers. This is something that requires real intellectual horsepower and real human endeavor in order to get to those real new insights, innovations within organizations' big data. And that's an area that sorry, Earl.
Well, I was going to say, I think that's a great upbeat note to end on. I think our audience will be very pleased to hear that there's still a role for the humans among us who are interested in doing this type of work. I want to thank you so much, Conor. If Conor did not get to your questions, and I know there were others, or if there are additional things you'd like to discuss with him, we invite you to reach out to him on Twitter, as he indicated, and he showed you the contact there earlier. I will like to mention that our next webinar will be held July 8th with David Acker of UC Berkeley. Many of you know of him, I'm sure. We look forward to seeing you there. Many thanks to the members of the MSI audience for participating in our member-to-member webinar series. And if you have a chance before you leave, please answer the featured survey question and stay on to see the results as we tabulate those. But again, thanks very much to Conor, and I encourage those of you who attended to follow up with him and continue the dialogue.
Thank you.